What's going on, guys? This is the first official episode of the Mortgage Pro podcast. I'm your host, Eric Braun, and today's episode, we're sitting down with a very special individual, Mr. Sean Zalmanoff. Sean has been in the mortgage business for forever. I hope he doesn't get mad that I said that, but on the real, we go over his extensive, very successful career, how he went from managing a national organization that did well over 300 million in loan volume to now taking a completely different approach to his business. We cover all sorts of gems, but I don't want to ruin it. I want you guys to enjoy the podcast. And again, thank you for listening. All right. We are with a very, very special guy today, Mr. Sean Z. And I wanted to bring you on. You can tell you're special because you're episode number 1, right? So it has to mean something, but thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. You've impacted my business tremendously, so I thought it was only right to bring you on our first official episode of the Mortgage Pro podcast. So welcome, Sean.
And that's quite an honor, Eric. I'm happy to be here and excited to see what Not Your Average Lender has done over the course of these last few years that we've known each other.
It's been a wild ride. I'm thinking, although I've been in the business, it's going on 8 years now. I feel like I've experienced a good amount, not as much as somebody like yourself who has been in the business. How long?
You just saying that because I'm a lot older than you? 21 years now.
21 years. So, I mean, I know in my time since I've met you, we've had COVID. We've had the refi. I don't even want to call it a refi boom because it doesn't really do it justice. We had rates in the 2s. The next day they were in the 6s. It was, volatility, margin compression, lack of inventory, bidding wars. The industry has been through a lot, and I can honestly say that the time that I've met you till now, I've looked at the business a lot differently. Since I've met you, it wasn't just about being a loan officer and doing loans anymore. It was about taking ownership, being a true business, a business person and building a business. So I thank you. I can't thank you enough for that. And I want to make sure that, our viewers get something out of this, or listeners get something out of this today. And I know they will, because you always bring the heat. So tell me a little bit of first off, how did you get in the business? Because very rarely does somebody say, I want to grow up and be a loan officer, right? We've all heard that joke before. How did you get in the business? What's that story? I know it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, so let's go back to I graduated college in 00, the winter of 00. It took me 4.5 years. And after I graduated college, I was the first of my 3 siblings to go to college and graduate college. And then all I wanted to do was work in the bar that I was in and travel. And this guy, he ended up going to jail. Imagine that. But kept trying to convince me, all through my college bartending days when I was managing the place, that I needed to come work with him. And so I interview all of 01 while taking 2 months off in the summer, traveling, seeing bands, going to Europe, having a really awesome time, and just living life. And so I interviewed for 74 different jobs, I think that it went up to. And then 9/11 happened in 2001. And it was we were closed for some violation that I didn't have anything to do with, and they were wrong. But, we had to close the bar anyway for a week. And so we came back, and it wasn't trickle down economics. We had faucet economics during that was the .com era. The stock market was booming. Kids were just spending money, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And I'm like, man, you know what? I think I might actually have to go get a real job. And I hated most of the jobs I'd interviewed for. And then a couple of my buddies were trying to convince me to do this corporate thing or that corporate thing. And Richie comes into the bar one day, and I'm finally like, all right, man, if you can do this, I can do this. And he was like a former concrete worker who was turned multimillionaire. And this was the wild, wild west back 20 years ago. So long story short, they had an office in St. Louis. I ended up going and working there. I learned everything that was wrong with the mortgage industry. These guys were so crooked that after 6 months of being a loan officer, I was talking to my buddies about opening a business where people would just like pay me $1,000 and I would like shop with them on how to get a mortgage.
Right.
Because I just thought everybody was like these guys. And then I quit that place and went to a few other spots realizing, oh, no, these guys really are crooks. And one of them ended up going to jail because he really was a crook. And then I ended up opening my own broker shop, had that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, worked at a retail mortgage bank, grew an incredibly large organization. And then in October of last year, after a couple of years of really not being happy in it anymore, quit the cushy exec gig and, did what every smart person does, opened a new mortgage company when the market's contracting, rates are rising, and you leave the salary behind.
And when you say every smart person does, were you saying that tongue in cheek?
Oh, yes. Yeah. There could have definitely
timed it better.
I did it then. Although my company doesn't appear they're going to pay me on the money they owed me, I was still in the black.
Right.
And usually when people leave a company, they ride that P&L down.
Right.
I take their money. I own my building, so they were paying me rent on my building. And I would have more money than I do right now. But part of, my boys say a mantra every day. My sons are just about to turn 7 and 9. And one of the things they have to say in their mantra every day is, I'm a man of integrity. And whether my former company decides to pay me or not, I left in a positive position, knowing what I was going to do. I just can't hang on anymore. But man, there were just some people who were absolutely killing me. It was draining my soul to the point that I was showing up differently for my family, and I just needed to make the change. But I'll tell you, Eric, they were draining my soul for a few years before that too, and I sold a little bit of it because the money was just that good. Well, right. I'll tell you,
it's like, how much of this can I take? When the money's good, you could take a lot more of it. Or that, not even just good, very, very, very good.
Yeah.
So so you got into the business. Your first experience with the mortgage business was a crooked, the picture of shady.
I mean, it was boiler room, man.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to. In the back, dude, my manager gave people the pages out of the phone book, gave it to people, and these kids came in after school and called, and we all worked till 9 o'clock at night, and they would if they got a hot one, they'd transfer it.
What did that teach you?
I mean, I thought every mortgage company was like that. And
right. I thought that was the business.
I thought that was the business. That's why I wanted to do something different and or help educate people differently. But it also taught me that I wanted to do things differently. And so eventually I found, one of the things that I regret, I wouldn't be where I'm at and I would have never gotten in the mortgage business. So it's a catch-22, but I never worked in a corporate structure. So until even after running my mortgage brokerage company, before I went to the retail world, I never worked for a large corporation. I didn't see how things ran. I didn't see how margins worked. I didn't understand anything truly about how to run a business. And the retail world taught me a lot about that. So going back into opening my own business, I mean, I'm at such a different spot than I was when I first did it.
How is so going from obviously everything that comes with opening a new business you're experiencing and the licensing and the hiring and possible firing and the stress, and now the market's climbing. Aside from that stuff, with your actual role and what you do on a daily basis, what has changed from when you went from corporate exec at a national retail lender to now owner of mom and pop brokerage?
So, number one thing, I'm the loan officer again. I didn't originate loans for almost 9 years.
Wow.
And over the summer, I sat down and I wrote out all the things I really liked in the mortgage industry. And there were two things that kept coming to the top that I enjoyed the most. One, it was helping homeowners. And it's a little bit selfish in this fact. I love to win. And I'm really good on the phone. And I like winning.
Right.
And so I was able to open a company. I mean, Better Rate Mortgage. We're a price, although like price is important. It's not all we compete on, but it is something I wanted to lead with. And I knew that I could set up a company that would be very successful on a little bit of a lower margin if I was the loan officer. And number two, I mean, I love forming relationships with realtors. Really good at it. I like making other loan officers cry. And even some of the ones that worked with me for a while. And so those two things, the winning deals, helping people in the houses and forming those relationships with loan officers or with realtors are what I really loved the most. And I just was, as I was resigning from my old company, they were like, well, you could do that here. And I'm like, I can, but it's not like I want to do it.
Right.
And so fortunately the last couple of years were really good. I wish I was making more money than I am right now, but it afforded me the ability to hire a great staff. We had a peak of 67 people in my region. When I left, there was 53. 3 of them came with me. I didn't ask anybody else to. And I was able to promote a lot of people, create a new regional exec position. And so I left that place where most people quit a company, like they slam the door, cut your email, throw you out. And I gave a 90 days notice and we wrapped it up. I think it was 27 or 29 days that we wrapped it up in. So it was a great exit.
Yeah. I mean, I was just interviewing another loan officer and one of the things that we always go over on that initial conversation is like, we want to bring on the right people with integrity. I don't care how many loans you do a month. That is very, very secondary or lower on the list than who you are as a person and a character. Whether that's the way you conduct yourself in those sort of situations, or that trickles down all the way to how you deal with customers and referral partners. And that's very important to us, because at the end of the day, if you're joining our organization and you're not doing that stuff properly, it's going to be frowned upon and you're going to make us all look bad. So I know firsthand you're a man of integrity, and I know you did everything the right way. Now, you said you went from 67 people, right? And
that was at the peak. When I left, we were down to 53.
Okay. Now, how much volume? Because I kind of know some of the numbers, and I want to just paint the picture for the audience. For those of you who don't know who Sean is, how much volume were you doing on a yearly basis at the peak, let's say?
So unfortunately, none of our offices were in New York. So our average loan size was not what yours is. So you're close around 1,600 loans,
okay.
350 million. It was like 20 was 350, 21 was 356.
So average loan amount of 220, closing 1,600 loans and 300 plus million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who has, I know year before, I don't know what we did last year. I have to look into that number. It's the 10th. I should know it already. But as an organization in 2021, we did over 300 million. And I know, regardless of loan size, units, to get to that number, you need the right pieces and the right leadership. You need to be the right person. You need to have the right mindset. Like, everything needs to be right. It's not like getting to a number of 30 million or 20 million where, like, if you're really good at a few things and you have the skills in these 3 categories, you can get to a number get to a decent number. 300 million is like what separates the men from the boys or women between the girls, right? So that's, although, you know, and now you're taking, it's funny because you hit a very, very big number and prove to everybody that you're a serious player. And what you want to do is almost downsize in a way. So
it's funny.
Yes. So does that mean somebody shouldn't do it?
No, it's like
a different stage. Like, give me. I know you said they were draining your soul and you were showing up to your family differently. Like, speak a little bit about that more, because out of this refi boom or crazy market that we were just in, a lot of loan officers have experienced that or are currently experiencing that. Talk a little bit about that.
So, I mean, everybody's got to do themselves. You got to do you. And at one time I thought I wanted to run $1 billion operation, and it just changed. I just didn't want to. You know, I've been doing this for 21 years, and I've had a lot more good years than I've had bad years. But I want to show up for my boys. I'm the den leader. I coach baseball. Somehow I got roped into coaching basketball this year. I got a mean game of horse. I don't really know how that happened. And so
I don't know what that game is.
and so that's all.
I've never seen a horse.
I like to go skiing. Like, and I want to take my boy. Like, my priorities are different.
Right.
And like, for you loan officers listening to this, if you don't want to take responsibility for yourself, like Walmart's hiring, go get a new job. Like, I will grow some loan officers and I will hire loan officers in my new company at some point this year. We'll start to do that. I've had a few reach out and just like, no, I'm still building my CRM. Not here, not now. But like, I can't stand the loan officer. And unfortunately, me included, like us, like we're like, their loan officers are miserable when they're busy, and loan officers are miserable when they're not. And then, like, if that's you, I'm just going to tell you right now, you and I aren't going to work together. And it's because, like, you're busy with turn times, because refis, and granted, we're probably never going to have, I hope we never have a refi boom like COVID again, because the things that would have to happen in our world, I don't want to have to see happen again.
Right.
But, like, turn times are long. So I'm miserable because turn times are long, and I know you're putting this person's files ahead of me. It's like, no, I'm not, man. It's just taking a while. Or then, like, okay, well, turn times are long and you're getting all this business, but you should do X, Y, and Z. So when the market shifts, we knew it was going to shift. We've been talking about it in Next Level a bunch. We didn't know it was going to shift like it did, but we knew it was going to be different. So you're ready when it comes out, and you're in front of all your agents that these other people aren't in front of.
Right.
And then we come out of COVID, and, inflation's out of control. Rates jump up a bunch. And then people, oh man, well, my rates suck and I'm not getting the apps I want. It's like, but you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do 18 months ago. And now you're mad at me again. It's like, I just don't want to lead people like that anymore.
So that's a big motivation for what has caused you to make this move.
That's it. Like, we are going to have, like, the loan officers, when I bring them on and hire them, we're going to have a very clear agreement of what they're going to do, how they're going to use my process. You're going to use my CRM, which is exactly what we advise against the Next Level. You should have your own CRM. But in, like, how people are going to work in my world is exactly how I tell them they're going to work. There was a gentleman I was talking to recently, and not even looking, like, I'm not at the point to hire yet. And he was like, well, I'm not going to do things like that. I was like, well, it's cool because I'm not hiring right now and you don't have to, but we'll never work together if you do that. Like, that's the thing about having my own company, was it will only be done my way. But I know
creative control
that if I do 10 to 12 purchase loans a month, I can create an annuity that will pay me into perpetuity, take care of my 3 key people that worked with me and are building this company with me, and we'll all be able to live a good life And I know I'll be able to do a lot more loans than that, and the refi booms will come and all that. But that's just what I'm getting set up for. I know if I do that, I've turned this business into an annuity that I can do happily for a long time.
Right.
And that's my impetus behind it. I just don't have to rely on anyone else.
It's funny because I was going to ask you at the end, and then maybe I'll ask you again. Maybe you'll say it a different way. I was going to ask you at the end of the episode, and it's something that I want to do with every guest, is what do you love about the business? And it's weird because you went through an experience where, you know, all of us were experiencing it, and you sat down, you said, what do I like and what do I don't like? And let me create my business around that. And what you didn't like was dealing with miserable loan officers, which I can tell you is it's a real thing. It's a real problem. So, and I think you're a great example of figuring out who you are and developing your business around that. And if I asked myself that same question, what do I love about the mortgage business? That is exactly it. Is you can build this business a million different ways. You can do it on social media. You can do it belly to belly, networking events, shaking hands, kissing babies. You could, do this with past clients. You could do this to get new referral relationships. You can build a consumer direct. You can have the process work completely. Like every mortgage company has their own process. There's so many different ways to do it. And what I like is figuring out the best way, not only the most efficient, but the best way for me and my staff and our loan officers. And it's cool to always tweak that and have that creative control that you were seeking. But you're a perfect example of really looking at who you are and building a business around that. So you mentioned next level, and this is something that I definitely wanted to talk to you about. How'd you get involved with Next Level, and what's the story behind that?
So just
for those of you who don't know what Next Level is, please.
Yeah. So one of the things that I just want to tie a bow on, we talked about it, getting to where I am right now. I had a lot of people that looked at me and they're like, you take 12 steps backwards, because they were like, you had this, you went to that. Right. I'm like, and it's like, no, man, like, I did me. I'm doing what I want to do. And again, I talked about like this business. I can treat it like an annuity right now. If it gives me X, like I'm gonna be really, really good without touching A, B, C, D, and F that I've already accumulated. And so that's why it is that way. So Next Level, myself, Kenneth Travis, Shane Kidwell, and Kellen Vaughn created an amazing community for loan officers. And we all met in other coaching programs, and some that were great at times, some that weren't. The unfortunate thing about many coaching programs is they masquerade as coaching programs, and they're recruiting entities just trying to get you to work at their company, and not in your best interest as a loan officer. So there's also a lot of great coaches out there, but just so anybody listening understands that. So we wanted to create a community of loan officers, and that's what we did. We have something that provides 5 live calls a week. We have our own custom app, so Mark Zuckerberg can't decide to shut us down on Facebook one day if he wants to shut down our group. And we have masterminds. We speak at a lot of other people's events, and have just created something that really doesn't exist in the industry for loan officers, by loan officers. And, if anybody wants to go check that out, you can go to becomenl.com and even schedule a strategy call with somebody and see if it's the right fit for you too.
Yeah, I highly recommend. Next Level is a great group of people that it's not like, here's our set way of doing things. Here's how you become successful. It's like, who are you? Let's build a successful business plan around that. What are you good at? What are your strengths? Let's double down on those things. Let's create systems. And that was my experience with everything. And I don't know if you guys heard what I just heard though. Not only are you starting from scratch in a brokerage, leaving a $300 million operation at a large retail lender. While you were doing all of that and now in this transition, you also have this other business. How do you balance the time?
So my life is less stressful now starting this
Right.
than it was before, because like I'm just doing what I want to do. My mortgage company is not as far as long as it could be if I didn't want to do everything that I needed to do or wanted to do that I do with my boys and my wife. And so it's building a little bit slower. But like that's just how things are. Being at the beginning of the year, I've told my wife the other day, I'm like, there's some nights a week we got to look at the calendar when kids don't have stuff. I'm going to have you meet them at the bus, and I'm going to work a couple extra hours to get things built out and moving. But like I just do it, next level. We have an amazing staff, just like we teach loan officers how to run their business, of having the right loan partners and processors and putting those things in place. That's the same thing we have inside the Next Level. We have an amazing digital marketing team, an amazing marketing director, and an awesome head of operations. And so they've set it up. So we kind of each of us do our own little things.
Right.
I'm the talent on what I need to be for the things that I do inside of it. And then I just stay active inside of the community, replying to posts and posting good information that we have. And other than that, we have an amazing team. So
I think an amazing team having the right people makes it easy, but don't make it sound like it's easy either. I mean, it is, you and I talk about this all the time. Like when you truly met your capacity of stress, you'll be amazed how much you can take on. And your crazy light day is somebody's crazy busy day. So although you talk about it nonchalant, how you have a great team and how you're delegating properly, which is all true to that, you're also working your ass off, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that the true judge of a loan officer in our industry is not how they show up when they're doing 10 loans a month, because I'm not doing 10 loans a month right now. That's what we'll be in the next few months when spring hits, and I'll never look back. But it's how you show up when you're closing a couple loans a month. You have a building you're paying a mortgage on and 3 other people on your staff. And it's how you wear the stress on those days. But I'm building something really cool, and we're all working hard. And so that's just kind of like where we're at. And again, like I was really blessed with an amazing first 21 years in my industry that I can afford to make these investments right now. And so like, that's the big thing. Loan officers are out there jumping ship left and right now. My company, this, my rates, that. Guys, like, stop. I know the industry's about to turn and get better again, because I'm seeing more of the flip-floppers. Then this is always the time when it turns. We talk about Next Level, your ATMs, the actions that matter. You were describing them or just a bit ago, Eric. And like, are you doing the activities that you do every day? Like, if you don't have apps coming in, the fact that somebody else has rates a quarter of a point better than you doesn't matter. You're still not going to close any loans with better rates.
You don't have anybody to quote. Why are you complaining about rates? Yeah. And so, go ahead.
No, it's just the funny thing about our industry.
Yeah, that's all very, very powerful. The last question I have for you is, what do you think makes, in your experience, 20 years in the business, you've led organizations, you've dealt with loan officers. We spoke about the miserable loan officers. What do you think makes a successful loan officer?
So the number one thing is, like, you got to be like an athlete, and you've got to have short-term memory, but you also have to be doing the things, love them or hate them, like Tom Brady, that's going to give you longevity. So, I wake up early every day, and I meet some dudes in a park, whether it's 100 degrees or -6, And like, we work out outside 5 days a week at 5:30 in the morning. I get my body right. I get my mind right. I eat right. And so you've got to you've got to be all encompassing. Like, it's not just about finance. I think there's 4 pillars of our life. We talk about them in Next Level: fitness, family, faith, and finance. And so you've got to be square on those things. The number one thing that you have to do in any sales profession is you got to look in and not out. You got to take responsibility for yourself. We all deal with markets when they're great. We deal with markets when they're not great. And love it or not, like, we're in a commoditized industry. You know,
right.
I mean, when rates are cheap and home prices are inexpensive, lots of people want to buy. The more home prices are expensive, the higher rates go up, less people want to buy. I mean, so you have to set yourself up for the ebb and flow, and you've got to get your mind right. As we talk about the faith, like, believe in God and a higher power, that's great too, but you got to believe in something bigger than yourself. And, you know, whether it's meditation that I do on a daily basis, like, you've got to do something to keep the thing between your ears healthy, because if you don't, like, you can go sideways. And man, you got to be talking with people like Eric Braun on a regular basis. Like, you got to be talking about somebody else who's moving the needle in their industry, because you can always find some miserable people to talk to. And if you're talking to 4 other miserable people all the time, you're gonna be miserable too. Like, so that's the best thing about Next Level. It was funny as I had a large organization, and I mean, I'd give loan officers that work with me free memberships. I couldn't get people who had free memberships to do the things that people paid us to do.
Right.
And so, like, get invested, find a tribe of people that move the needle for you, that are like-minded, that want to grow business, and even in down times are there for support. And you'll not only be a better loan officer, you'll just be a better human being.
Well, I mean, that's it, guys. I mean, we could have took that last 30 seconds to a minute, and that could have been the whole podcast. You touched on a lot of things today: your story, the transition you're going through, the motivation for that transition, and a ton of mindset, right? And I come from a place, and my background is, I'm not a positive person. I'm not supposed to be here. I wasn't bred for success. And that, I can tell you, is the key to everything, whether it's this business or anything else, is like, what's going on between your ears. And I just want to thank you for being playing a big role in my story and my business. And yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on. This was awesome.
Thanks for allowing me to be the first guest on here, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. In the books. We'll have you back on for sure.
Awesome.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Peace out, y'all.